A very good evening, viewers from within and beyond our borders. We are coming to you live from Hospital Hill in Babane. My name is Otto Adlamini, bringing you the 8 o'clock news bulletin. First, the headlines. His Majesty's government has lodged a request for loans amounting to over 3 billion emalangeni for budget support. The Ho Regional Administrator says the surge of COVID-19 cases is worrying, but the region will strengthen its response. ECCOM is calling for submissions and contributions from the public towards the development of a broadcasting code. The news in detail. The Minister of Finance, Neil Rickenberg, says they have lodged a request of close to 3.5 billion emalangeni for budget support from the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank and the African Bank. The minister says this money will cushion the budget and help address urgent balance of payments needs created by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Last month, the Central Bank of Eswatini reported that due to COVID-19, preliminary projections indicate that the country's gross domestic product will decline by 6.2% compared to an initial projection of 2.8% this financial year. This led to government to use funds initially intended for other projects, which created a budget deficit. The Minister of Finance, Neil Rickenberg, says due to this, they have lodged a request of over 1.7 billion emalangeni from the International Monetary Fund and over 1.6 billion emalangeni from the African Development Bank and the World Bank.
The Kingdom of Eswatini, like all other countries on the globe, has been affected and impacted significantly by the coronavirus pandemic, and to this end the government has lodged a request for budget support from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, under the RFI purchase window. This facility will avail funds to cushion the budget and help address urgent balance of payment needs created by the COVID-19 pandemic. The scourge has severely affected Eswatini's economy, exacerbating pre-existing economic challenges and hindering government's efforts to preserve fiscal sustainability and support recovery from previous shocks. In addition, the measures adopted to contain the pandemic and declining export demand have led to a significant contraction in economic activity.
The minister says government is intensifying her efforts in fighting corruption to ensure government financings are used strictly for the intended projects. Budget estimates for the financial year 2020-2021 shows a fiscal deficit of 2.9 billion emalangeni. The total expenditure is expected to reach 24.1 billion emalangeni. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Nelson Ngamandla with Muzim Konda in Babane.
The Ministry of Health has reported 5 new COVID-19 related deaths in the past 24 hours, including a 4-year-old, which brings the total number of reported deaths to 39. In a statement issued by the Minister for Health, Liz Nkosi, a total of 512 results were received, out of which 88 tested positive for coronavirus. The statement shows that there are 1,252 active cases, 1,025 have recovered, 39 are deceased, and 88 have been registered for care. Looking at the cumulative confirmed COVID-19 cases by region, Manzini has 1,124 cases, Oho has 930 cases, Shiselweni has 195 cases, while the Lubombo region has 155 confirmed cases of COVID-19. The Ho Regional Administrator, Princess Tsandzile, says the high number of people testing positive for COVID-19 in the Ho region is shocking, but even during these circumstances, they will still keep on creating more ways that will help in fighting the disease.
The region has been recording a high number of people with COVID-19 cases, as on Monday, the region had an increase of 42 new cases, which brought it to 887 confirmed cases. The Ho Regional Administrator, Princess Tsandzile, says the high increase of cases daily is indeed very worrying and that they are creating more ways to fight and overcome the spread of the disease.
We are really concerned about the rising numbers of the COVID-19 in the region. However, the Minister of Health is preparing something that is going to curb the rising of the numbers in our region. I've been told that they will be using the similar approach that was used in Manzini, whereby they would send people to do a door-to-door campaign to see if this is not going to be effective. However, because we know that there is rural setting and urban setting, so the ministry is busy designing a plan. How are they going to be carrying those campaigns in the rural areas? Because whatever they did in Manzini town, they're also going to do it in the Hoho towns.
The Hoho RA Princess Tanzile says if all Eswatini in the Hoho region and in all areas of the country fight together with combating the spread of COVID-19, the Kingdom of Eswatini will win against the virus. Reporting, I'm Temalang Ndlamini with Nelsie Wesimelane, Mbabane.
In an effort to ensure that all Eswatini have access to and the usage of financial services, the Center for Financial Inclusion, in collaboration with the International Fund for Agricultural Development, have started a program for boosting inclusive financial services for smallholder farmers. This was said by the Cluster Development Coordinator, Mulamuli Busiga, during a presentation of the program to the Chiefs and Regional Administrator in the Shiselweni region.
The government of Eswatini, through the Center for Financial Inclusion, commissioned and implemented a survey to help monitor and evaluate sector interventions driven by the National Financial Inclusion Strategy in 2018. The survey showed that only 67% of Eswatini have access to banks. Busiga says the program will provide new livelihood opportunities through the development of the agricultural sector in rural areas to enable rural people to build better lives for themselves and their families.
So the FinClude project is targeting, I would say, resource-constrained farmers who are already producing the 5 commodities, which include red meat, legumes, vegetables, piggery, and poultry. So what we are doing today, we are introducing the project to the chiefs. And by introducing the project to the chiefs, basically the project has started.
Speaking during the presentation, Regional Administrator for the Shiselweni region, Dr. Vincent Mhlanga, said they are committed to assisting the Center for Financial Inclusion and Cluster Development to pick the rightful beneficiaries that will benefit from the program.
And we trust our chiefs are going to use this money fruitfully. And I can assure you that as the region, we are going to try and ensure that the money is paid back. Because at the end of the day, for this project to succeed, the money has to be returned. That means it has to be put into very good use.
Speaking on behalf of chiefs, Chief Dambuza from the Ngobelweni Chiefdom says they are pleased that this program was launched in their region.
Shiselweni needs a lot of developmental projects. The project is a very good concept. Much as it has, there are a number of other things that need to be closely scrutinized for the success and for the good implementation of the project.
One of the core aims of the program is to increase the revenue collected by the smallholder farmers and the standard and profits of the farmers in order to reduce rural economic isolation. Reporting for Eswatini TV, I'm Sifiso Ngumalo with Smuva Shongwe, Hlangano.
In a bid to safeguard the rights of citizens to be informed freely, truthfully and objectively, Eswatini Communications Commission invites relevant stakeholders to comment or make contributions towards the proposed document of the Eswatini Communications Commission's Broadcasting Code. ECCOM Broadcasting Manager Vusikama Khumalo says the Broadcasting Code highlights the expected standards in terms of advertising, local content and accessibility to broadcasting services for the disabled, among others.
The Eswatini Communications Commission, as guided by the Eswatini Communications Commission Act of 2013, is mandated to put in place guidelines that will set acceptable standards for broadcasting programs and advertising and to ensure that broadcasting services do not encourage unfair discrimination. It is for that reason that the Commission has put together a proposed document regarding Eswatini's broadcasting codes, which gives a direction to broadcasters on the expected conduct while delivering their services to viewers and listeners. Vusigama Khumalo, Eswatini's broadcasting manager, says stakeholders and interested persons can make comments on the proposed documents.
I-Commission vele nayikwenda lokho konke lekwendako ikuyisa esiveni itothola ema-contribution. So nyalo-ke indlela lesebenza ngayo i-broadcasting kulema-guidelines a-2017 lakhona. Kepha-ke lawo ma-guidelines lakhona-ke kukhona la kushoda khona. So i-Commission-ke bese edda lama-codes ngoba umthetho lo i-establisha kuyawavumela ukuthi ikwende lokho. So lama-codes lawa abuke tinhlangothi lengathi tisiphohlongo ikakhulu lokufaka ekhathi nakulokuthiwa i-watershed period. Leso ngilesikhathi lapho kubukwa khona ukuthi ngidiphi inhlelo letingadlala letingacishe khona ukuthi tilungele abantu labadala noma abantwana abancane.
The broadcasting codes gives direction to broadcasters in terms of watershed, program sponsorships, local content, privacy and copyright issues, among others. Submissions of the written comments will be opened from the 28th of July 2020 up until the 28th of August 2020. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Giani Msibi in Mbabane.
The Office of the Ombudsman, which is a mediator between customers and bank, says they have seen an increase in the number of complaints from customers this year compared to the previous year. This was said by the head of legal, Refilwe Mamahobo.
The Office of the Ombudsman, which is a mediator between customers and banks, say they have seen an increase in the number of reported cases to them this year compared to the previous year. This is because customers are now recognizing the work of the office. Refilwe Mamokobo, the head of legal, says complaints received mostly are related to card scamming or where a customer has a misunderstanding with the bank in regards to overcharges.
Kuma nje customer listelana liyafika ebhange langaphatheki kahle khona nje la reception wangakhona ukusitakala bese uyakuletha lokho ku-ombudsman sikhona ukubahlanganisa nelibhange lakhe, and then tiba khona tikhalo tema ATM tesibonile tingathi tiyenyuka ama ATM cards la clonwako noma baye bathi phishing we ukhanze ukuthi likhadi lakho lente ama withdrawals kube kungasiwe sitithole ikhalo lethi njengaleto bese tiba khona ke tikhalo we mhlambe li customer nje lifikile ebhange lacela info le simple njenge bank statement.
They work hand in hand with FSRA Ombudsman where other financial institutions' concerns are addressed. She says customers with concerns can write to them and address the letter or either in writing in either Siswati and English and can be typed or not, which is still accepted to them. And if there are certain documents that need to be attached, that can also be done. She says they respect the country's courts, therefore, if a case is still sub judice, they do not interfere. She advises that customers must speak to their banks first before they can come to them. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Giani Msibi with Sondomlangeni, Mbabane.
The Ministry of Agriculture says all projects that are financially supported by the European Union in the ministry are aimed at empowering all Eswatini on agriculture and farming skills as well as improving food security. Cardino Emerging Markets Consultants trained all stakeholders in the agricultural sector on financial management of these projects at the Happy Valley in Eswatini.
The European Union has different projects it is financially supporting under the Ministry of Agriculture, including livestock projects, high-value projects and water harvesting projects aimed at empowering Maswati on agriculture. Cardno Emerging Markets Consultants trained all those involved, including LUCIP, the Ministry of Agriculture, Eswatini and NAMPOT, on financial management of European Union funding projects in Eswatini. Pasha Zwane, the project manager, explains about some of these projects and how this training will benefit them.
Today we are conducting EU is conducting a training to assist the project managers to implement and manage the funds which are being donated into the country. The Maswati are very enthusiastic, especially with the agriculture, as we know that agriculture is the pillar and it's a means of livelihood for most Maswati, and they welcome the assistance from EU. So a lot of the Maswati are interested, and some still want to participate but are limited due to the project areas that we focus on.
She says Maswati in all communities are enthusiastic on utilizing these projects, which shows that these funds are utilized for good use. I am Kian Msibi for Eswatini TV News at the Happy Valley, Ezulwini.
The United Nations Population Fund, with its partners, have created guidelines on maternal health which will guide health care workers on how they should treat pregnant women who have COVID-19. This was said by UNFPA Office in Charge Margaret Twala Dembe when explaining that fewer women give birth in health institutions since the outbreak of COVID-19.
The United Nations Population Fund says it's intensifying its efforts to bring more programs to help pregnant women during the outbreak of COVID-19. UNFPA officer in charge Margaret Twala Dembe says they are currently seeking funding to embark on a project to go to communities to find the root cause on why women give birth at home besides the outbreak of COVID-19.
UNFPA is looking at ensuring that by 2030 we have zero maternal deaths. So when women deliver at home, there are consequences that might happen, which might lead to them dying. So we just thought that preliminary, while we are waiting for the survey that I was talking about earlier, we could also look at how capacitated are the healthcare workers in terms of providing the services that these women might need. And in collaboration with UNICEF and partners, especially at PAF, ICAP and others, I would not list all of them, we supported the reproductive health unit of the Ministry of Health to develop technical guidelines on maternal, newborn and child health in the context of COVID-19. Whereby within these guidelines it is clearly articulated in terms of how midwives and gynecologists could take care of a COVID positive client who might come for antenatal.
A report by the World Health Organization for the year 2017 states that there were 437 per 100,000 maternal deaths in the country. In another report, the organization reported that there were 43 infant mortalities per 1,000 births. UNFPA says they are working hard to eradicate the infant and maternal mortalities. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Nelson Ngamandla with Muzim Konda in Babane.
In our sports news, it is down to 3 candidates for the race of the chairmanship for the Premier League of Eswatini. Chief Operations Officer of the Premier League of Eswatini, Pat Vilagati, says Constitution took center stage in selecting the final 3 who will be elected for the chairmanship position. Vilagati was speaking to Eswatini TV Sports in Lobamba.
The local football fraternity awaits to who will lead the Premier League of Eswatini as chairman for the next 4 years. Names have come up as main candidates for the race that includes current chairman Peter Magagura, Premier League of Eswatini executive member and Manzini Sundown Boards Kaka Michael, Pigs Peak Black Swallows chairman Charles Matsebura, executive member Mashuni Shongwe, Manzini Seabirds and executive member Stelo Mkonda, and former executive member of the Mbabane Swallows, Bongani Mamba. Former Manzini Wanderers chairman Patrick Gametse, who also had a chance to serve with all the above candidates during his time as a member of the organization, says whoever gets the hot seat must be able to put the interest of the organization at heart.
Not how connect interactor with the corporates. because ibhola idzinga umuntu lo tawuba nale network lo tawukhona ukukhulumisana nama-sponsors alide le team yakhe, which is the
Kamete says individual must have capabilities of bringing sponsors on the table for the benefits of the league. He says honesty is another key aspect that the candidate must possess.
Honesty comes in various forms. One kuba ukuthi mangabe kunaba conflict of interest kumuntu futhi declare.
Kamete concluded wishing the above nominees all the best ahead of the elections. Whoever gets to be elected will lead the organization for the next 4 years. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Babane.
Before we come to the end of our news bulletin, let us once again take a look at our main stories. His Majesty's government has lodged a request for loans amounting to over 3 billion emalangeni for budget support. The Ho Regional Administrator says the surge of COVID-19 cases is worrying, but the region will strengthen its response. ECCOM is calling for submissions and contributions from the public towards the development of a broadcasting code. Well, viewers, that's all I have for you from our news desk. Thank you very much for staying with us at this point in time. Please allow me to leave you with the weather update for tonight and tomorrow. Otherwise, from myself, Zodwa Dlamini, and the rest of the transmission team, good night and God bless you.